used to support Europe at the time of post-war crisis. Europe doesn't have that kind of money in the public purse to give away at this stage. How would this pact of yours work?
Well, Europe does. I'm sorry to interrupt. Europe does. Europe should coordinate much better the existing instruments, because Italy alone has proposed to open a new lines of credit for Egypt of more than 100 million euros only at bilateral level, and we did the same with Tunisia. Europe as a whole promised so far to mobilize just 17 million for Tunisia and something more for Egypt. So Europe should find much more money to have a more coordinated approach. If there is a political will, Europe can succeed.
And from Italy's perspective then, what are you prepared to donate to this?
Well, Italy will be continuing to support all the practical initiative to relaunch economic development and launch economic plans for all these countries that are in a transitional phase towards democracy. I did so in Egypt, I've done so with Tunisia. We are ready to do so, but bilateral level is not enough. We need Europe, and we need more than Europe. We need a coordinated international effort. That's why I talked about a Marshall Plan.
All right, again, I'd like to ask you about Italy's contribution to all of this, and let me put a very specific question to you.
I said, it is very clear, it is very clear. I repeated what I've already said. Italy offered to Tunisia more than 100 million euros, and more than that to Egypt, alone at bilateral level.
Let me put a specific question to you about the immigration situation. Now, this appears to be one of the things that concerns Italy more than any other. How many, if any, immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers are you prepared to take if the situation in Libya continues and escalates?
Well, it is impossible to say. We are helping people with humanitarian assistance in the countries that are concerned. Egypt if necessary, Tunisia if necessary. We are waiting for a concerted and coordinated European approach. We are ready to face the first impact.
And as far as the overall European and international response is concerned, I know that you had a phone conversation with Hillary Clinton some days ago. Are you sensing that overall we are moving towards the possibility of intervention in Libya?
Not for the moment, as far as I understand. It will be possible to move on an humanitarian assistance mission to be enforced from the international community. I'm not talking about a military intervention. A military intervention perhaps not, but would you be willing to throw your weight behind the idea of this no-fly zone that you and so many other people have skirted around to a certain extent? That's why I said that no-fly zone is still under discussion, because if you decide a no-fly zone, you have to enforce it through military means is necessary. All right. Mr. Frattini, thank you very much indeed for talking to Al Jazeera. Bye-bye. And thank you also for joining us on this edition of Talk to Al Jazeera. Bye-bye.
Al Jazeera, Frontline.
The situation is getting increasingly worse. The police is not getting here. People are simply starving.
It had been a peaceful day, but then this.
Many Greeks have deep economic concerns, but there are also groups who have a deep antipathy towards the police.
Once on the ground, the soldiers of Mexico's 94th Battalion continue their mission to find and destroy marijuana crops.
Rhythms of resistance.
A part of the struggle and popular resistance is art. Through my art, I resist. Resistance is my art, and my art is my war.
Musicians using music as a way to maintain their cultural identity.
I believe that when I sing to the world, I portray Palestine through my voice, my singing, and my songs.
Songs from the lost homeland. At this time, on Al Jazeera.
To be part of the success of one of the world's most attractive countries for FDI, please push the button. For more power to your global business, invest in Turkey.
Two generations face the past in order to understand the present. A young man embarks on a journey with his father in search of answers. Great changes in China have brought their traditional family way of life to a crisis point. Faces of China, at this time on Al Jazeera.
All the news, all the time. AlJazeera.net/English.
As geeks take on dictators, bloggers turn dissidents, and social networks root for social justice, governments are going cyber, spying on their citizens, erecting firewalls like iron curtains, and closing down websites. We ask, is cyber-generated change virtual or real? Empire at this time on Al Jazeera.
People talk about televising the revolution. It's tweeting the revolution, Facebooking the revolution, videotaping the revolution.
A new world driven by new media.
This is a very peculiar moment in media history.
Nobody can force me in 2011 to watch whatever I don't want to watch.
Analyzing the media's role in shaping modern history. The Listening Post, at this time on Al Jazeera.
I'm trying to give you IFB for our correspondent, Shireen Tadros.
Sorry, I can't hear. Can you repeat? The Lebanese army have now been deployed across the capital. We can hear the sound of the Israeli drones just above us. The Israeli military have vowed to continue, and that is why everyone is moving whatever they can and trying to get out of here. The hospital is chaotic. Hundreds of people are just standing around waiting. The gunfire is continuing.
Shireen Tadros, Al Jazeera.
Gaddafi's forces fight back in Libya. Air Force jets bomb a rebel-held ammunition dump east of Tripoli. The opposition have dismissed the attacks as an act of desperation. I'm Darine Abu Gaida. This is Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also coming up, forces opposed to Gaddafi plan their own offensive on Tripoli, but are the aging weapons they have up to the job? The Libyan leader laughs off calls for him to quit, saying he'll never leave his homeland. And a nighttime count of India's most vulnerable. The latest census tries